Welcome back to another edition of the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group, joined as always by the head coach, Blaine McCorkle, and coach will jump right into it. Tough one Saturday. You said it a week ago on this program. You said it when we talked getting ready for the game. You thought Southeastern was the best team in the Southland Conference you were going to play this year. Looked like it held true Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, well, if I'm nothing else, I'm honest. I mean, I'm going to tell people the truth, whether they want to hear it or not. Southeastern Louisiana's got a heck of a football team, and they're big, they're physical, they're extremely well coached. And they proved to be exactly what that we thought they were going to be. Right now we're not big and physical, and we've got a lot to do with our coaching as well, I guess. But they're kind of a standard we're trying to get to, And so we learned a lot. We've said a lot that you win or you learn. You may get a loss on the scoreboard, but if you don't learn anything from it, it's wasted, and we're not going to waste it. I think we learned a lot of valuable lessons Saturday that hopefully will help us moving forward in the future.
Well, one thing you continue to learn, and something you've known pretty much all year, is the margins are very thin for this team. You've got to do everything to the letter to be successful. And great second drive. Again, second time in as many games when you start doing the hockey line change kind of up front that group has responded and gone on a long drive. The unfortunate part is both of those have ended up without points. It's 7-0. If Zay Davis is able to cross the goal line there, it's 7-7, and suddenly you've probably got a whole other game. Unfortunately, credit the defensive back from Southeastern, kept playing, forced the fumble, and it just seemed to change the momentum even early in the game.
It did, yeah. It's 7-0, and we marched the ball. We went 10 plays and 90 yards. That's a really, really impressive drive, and you're right. That's 2 games in a row where the second drive, with a lot of those young kids in there, did the exact same thing. And Zay is walking in the end zone, fumbles the ball, gives it back to him at the 20 because that's a touchback by rule. And I think in a lot of ways it was a little bit game over at that point, and shame on us for that. You've got to keep playing. But I think with where we are in our maturation process, with being so young, our recent history being so unsuccessful, the battle of the mind is real. And I think when that happens, there was a little bit of a here we go again, and that's something that we've got to be bigger than. We've got to battle through some of that stuff and keep fighting, keep swinging. I don't think our effort was bad after that. But if Zay walks in the end zone with that ball, and I'm not mad at Zay, those things happen. He's got to do a better job. He's got to secure the ball better. He knows that. Nobody was harder on him than himself in that moment. But we walk in the end zone at 7-7, probably midway through the second quarter. As the clock was kind of ticking there late in the first quarter, that's a whole different ballgame. They're a better football team than us right now. There's no secret about that. Maybe they do separate that game a little bit later, but maybe it looks more like 31-17, 34-21, something like that, as opposed to what you got. So, you can't let one, mistake compound. You have to move on, and the margin for us is razor thin.
Second quarter, you mentioned they didn't pull away because your defense, field position, the kick game, Scotty Roblo had a really good game back there punting the football, was able to keep them inside their 15-yard line, 3 straight drives. Good for the defense. Again, that complementary piece you keep looking for just seems to week by week just be one side that can't quite get in step with the other.
Yeah, defense did a great job keeping them pinned down there, and you're right, Scotty did an incredible job, and Reed, they kind of went hash to hash, right-footed, left-footed, which is kind of a neat place for us to be and have the ability to do that right now. Did a great job with the field position battle for us and putting our defense in a good spot, and the defense responded, made some plays, created some better field position for our offense. We just got to capitalize when those things happen, but you're exactly right, still looking for that complementary piece and putting the whole thing together.
Touched on that, especially when you're talking about the kick game with Darius Lewis back there, is an incredible punt returner. You saw him break one, Reed got the tackle to save the touchdown on that play, but it's always dangerous, and I thought really keeping the ball in and trying to pin him, you could see a couple of directional kicks with the wind that had distance and the right placement from Scotty more so, it seemed like this week.
Yeah, you out-kicking your coverage is a real thing. Scotty might have done that on 1 or 2, which credit to him. He's got a big leg, and when he hits one, he can hit it and make that happen. But we don't ever want him to not hit that, because sometimes that thing will go over your head and you get a good roll too. But kind of put our coverage in a little bit of a tough spot because he did hit the ball so well on that one. But we've got to tackle better on that unit and pin those things. We've got to take advantage of that leg, and pin those things down. Landry Huddleston actually on one of those was on his back, gets up and chases him down 40 yards down the field. Just an unbelievable effort play by him, and that's kind of been who he's been all year. But it was neat to see Scotty get in there and kind of have his first big moment of the year, and he's got 2 more weeks with our program, and hopefully he can keep doing that for us.
Well, talking about him, it'll segue perfectly coming into Saturday. It's McNeese. It's a rivalry game in a sense. We'll talk about it in a second, but it's also senior day. You've got guys you want to honor, and you're in kind of a unique position. When you're a first-year coach and you inherit guys, what is that like from a senior day perspective?
Yeah, it's unique because you don't have the years accumulated of a relationship built with them. We've only got 8 seniors. That's not very many because of the recent history that everybody knows about with what happened last year and things like that. We're just not going to have a very big senior class. But what that doesn't do is diminish the amount of respect I have for those 8 seniors, because those are 8 guys that stuck in here at this place when it was really, really easy to leave. When all those guys bailed out of here, 30-something guys left last year and a few more right after that, that was easy because things were in turmoil. But those guys were willing to see the big picture, say, this is my home, I'm going to stick it out. And those guys will be Northwestern State football players the rest of their life, and that's something that they can be proud of, and the link will be really real for them. They can wear that thing with pride the rest of their life, and hopefully they'll look back as we get this thing turned, which we are going to get it turned, and be proud of the fact that they helped lay the foundation to put Northwestern State football back where it belongs. So give those guys a lot of credit, respect them a lot, and we're looking forward to honoring them Saturday.
So as you get ready for your first game with McNeese, you come in, again, you just use the word unique. 2021 was a unique season within the Southland Conference. You had sort of an NFL schedule where you played 3 teams twice and 2 teams once, or whatever the numbers ended up getting to 8. You weren't here for that, obviously, but this will be your first time to play McNeese, because since playing McNeese twice in 2021, the teams haven't met. It's been a schedule change, and obviously what we've talked about, it's interesting to pick up. You're going to jump into a rivalry that's kind of getting restarted.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a unique situation. You would think Northwestern State and McNeese play every year forever, right? And we have played a lot of times over history, but there is a little bit of a gap in there. When COVID hit, it changed everybody in the country's scheduling a little bit. People had conference realignment at the same time right after that, so it did throw a wrench in some schedules for a couple years. Like I was talking to Frank Selfo last week before the game at Southeastern, they're not playing McNeese this year. And there's really no reason that Nichols, McNeese, Northwestern State, and Southeastern shouldn't play each other every year. I think it's going to go to that in the future, as our conference is expanding with Stephen F. coming back, with Rio Grande Valley coming in a year. I think the schedules are finally going to get set where, every year everybody in Louisiana will play everybody in Louisiana, and that's how it should be. And we're excited about that. But hopefully we've got that thing set, and we won't have those gaps anymore, because it is a great rivalry. And I think the 10 largest crowds in Turpin Stadium history are between 2 opponents, McNeese and Southern. So that's a team that we need to play, and people get excited about it.
I know you want to see one of those top 10 ones. It may not happen this weekend, but eventually see one of those kind of crowds here.
Well, we've got seats to fill, so we'll get there eventually.
When you do look at McNeese, and it's built in a very different way. The roster is, everyone's got their own way of building a roster, of their own way of operating a program. Gary Goff has come in, and it's a lot of guys that we haven't seen since 2021. Not a lot of guys on either side will have played in that last McNeese NSU game, and it's for different reasons.
Yeah, he, last year McNeese didn't win a game. Coach Goff, to his credit, rolled the dice, gambled a little bit, and brought in a ton of transfers. I may be wrong on this stat, but I think they have as many in FCS football as there is in the country right now. If you count them up, they've got a bunch. So he just completely revamped and rebuilt his roster, and to his credit, it's worked for him. They went from 0-10, lost our game last year, which didn't exist. I guess that counts as a forfeit win for them. And now he's sitting at 5-5 and looking to have a winning season for the first time there in a handful of years. So good for Coach Goff. It's worked. And they've got guys. In Lake Charles, Louisiana, they're a team right now that has kids from 15 states and 2 countries. So they really are a mixed bag of a roster. I was talking to my cousin who we've talked about before at Dartmouth last night, and there's a kid at McNeese who played for him at Dartmouth who's actually from Arizona, and he's in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So that's kind of the weird thing about college football right now, and how this thing's taking shape with the transfer portal, that when you decide to go heavy transfer like that, you are going to have guys from all over. So it's a little different model than we're going to try to do here and build it. That's okay. There's a lot of ways to win and build a program, and that's working for Coach Goff right now, and good for him. We will try to do it a little bit different and see what happens. But it's kind of like the old question. I remember my dad asked me years ago, who's the better coach, Tom Landry or Vince Lombardi? That's a great question. They're 2 polar opposite ends, so there's a lot of ways to get the same result, but you have to do what you believe in and what fits for you, and that's worked for them right now, and we'll see how that continues.
I'm glad you said Tom Landry correctly, because yesterday at the Cowboy game, they had a little issue on the Jumbotron.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Tom Laundry.
Oh, boy,
unfortunately,
yeah.
of all the people to do that, too. You mentioned something, we were talking about guys becoming alumni, the link. It was good to see one family, and we'll talk about Danny Sears here in just a second. His family is Northwestern through and through, and seeing his father and his brother there on the field at the field level there at Southeastern just kind of reinforces, I think, what you want this program and what this program was and what you want it to be.
Oh, absolutely. The Sears family they are Northwestern State football. Danny's doing a great job for us. He's been out a few weeks with an injury, so it was good to have him back, and he played a great game Saturday, played tough, played physical. We sent him out as a captain because he's from Covington right there in his backyard, and we knew he'd have a lot of family there. That'd be important to him. But his brother was a good player here. His dad played here back in the day. So there's three of them in that family, and it's a pretty neat deal. And just that whole St. Paul school, Matt Gower on our team is from there. Ben Buchon's from there. So we've got a pretty good pipeline coming from St. Paul's, and Coach Sears, he's taking care of us down there, and not allowed to say names, but there's another one there right now that we'd really like to have. Hopefully might have that locked down in the next day or two. But yeah, it's pretty neat to see, and we've got several kids on our team. Jackson Hedrick's on our team, his dad played here. Ford Clark's on our team, his dad played here. And when you can find those guys who are good players and contribute and help you win, and they have that legacy, sometimes they just play a little bit harder for you because this place means a little something more. And I think it's what you see in Danny.
You touched on it. Ford Clark, one of those younger guys that started getting some playing time with that 4-game rule, whatever you want to call it. But you touched on something. We'll wrap up with this. You mentioned the mentality and trying to get over some things mentally. Let's go back to those second drives. So many young guys.
Yeah.
Is it a little bit of they're talented football players, but is a little bit of not ignorance is bliss, but maybe you don't have the noise to block out when you're a young guy fighting for that?
I think they're just good football players, because, sometimes when you're young guys, the noise is loud because you pay attention to it and whatever, but they don't know yet not to play hard, if that makes sense. And, I'm not going to call anybody out or name any names or whatever, but I think there is an element with maybe some players who have been here for a long time and not experienced much success that the standard is less than what it is. So all of our young guys that have come in with our program, they don't know anything other than what we've taught them. So the old guys, maybe there's still some bad habits, some things they're clinging on to that we're working on weeding out, and we are. And a lot of the old guys know and recognize that about themselves, and they're working hard to fix it, so I give them credit for that. But our young guys only know one way to do it, and that's the way that our staff has instilled that when you put on that N on the side of your helmet with that pitchfork through it, you play hard. And you play physical, and there is a standard, and it's always going to be higher and higher and higher as time goes on. And those young guys have really bought into that early, and when they go in there, they play hard and they get after it. They're just not developed enough yet to play 80 plays of FCS football in the Southland. This time next year and the year after they've had a full off season with Coach Smelser, they'll be ready to do that, and hopefully we get that product on a more consistent basis. But those second drives the last couple weeks, Eli Little, 260 pounds from Winfield, going in there and playing right tackle in the Southland and just getting after people. And it's really, really fun and encouraging to watch. He may get thrown 10 yards or he might drive you 10 yards, because he's still young and learning it. And, we were watching a play in the game that was really kind of neat. Speaking of Eli, and Lawson Champagne played every play as a true freshman at left guard. It was really neat. But it was 3rd and 6, and we throw a little swing screen out there, and you've got Winfield, Louisiana, freshman tackle blocking for Manny, Louisiana, freshman running back, and they get the first down. And it's a great snapshot of how we're going to build it and where it's going, because it was a great play, it was a successful play with local kids doing what they're coached to do, and they're proud to be at Northwestern State. And that 1 3rd and 6 that we converted, I think is a real snapshot of exactly how we're building this and where it's going. So it was a pretty cool picture to see Winfield and Manny working together to do something special for Northwestern State.
A lot of Tigers become demons.
That's right.
Both were Tigers in high school, and we mentioned Eli Little. We talked about family. Perfect way to wrap this up.
Yep.
Cousin of former Demon offensive lineman Thomas Little.
That's right.
Also,
he's another one.
So another legacy.
Right.
Coach, your last one in Turpin Stadium for the year, Saturday at 1 against McNeese. We'll see you there. Thank you so much for your time, as always. And we'll be back as the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial rolls on with defensive coordinator Matt Connor.
Super One Foods is proud to be named the official grocery store of the Northwestern State University Demons. No matter where you gather to watch the game, we've got everything you need at Super One Foods, all at super low prices. Plus, you can order online and enjoy same-day pickup with our convenient curbside service. Talk about a game changer. Score big when you shop at Super One Foods, your official NSU Demons grocery store.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group, joined now by Northwestern State defensive coordinator Matt Connor. He got a bye week from the show last week, but we're glad to have him back as always. And Coach, we'll start off with Southeastern. A couple of tough punches you took early, but your unit really responded in that second quarter. I thought maybe one of their better quarters of the year from start to finish, including the 3 straight 3-and-outs to pin a team like Southeastern back in its own end.
Yeah, it was. Obviously we have to address the slow start. That can't happen when you're playing good football teams, and at this level you don't play very many bad ones. So when you're playing good football teams, you can't come out and spot them 14 points to start out the game. And so, we'll have to address that. We'll address that with our players, and they know it, and we'll work to improve that. But, you did see some flashes of the defense, the style of defense, the standard of defense that we want to play here at Northwestern State. And but as I told the guys last night, flashes don't win you games. Flashes might get you a few stops, but flashes aren't going to win the game for you. And so we've got to go to work and make sure we can maintain that level of play throughout 60 minutes.
Thought in that 15 minutes we talked about pinning them back in one end, but also one true goal line stand and one that forced an incredibly short field. They get the ball at the 5 and you force them to a 19-yard field goal. Those two drives, sets of downs. Jeremiah Keppard's interception I thought was a tremendous read, and you saw his athleticism on that play.
Yeah, he is, and we're really excited about Jeremiah. And I've bragged on him on this show before. Just a redshirt freshman, and he comes to work every day, and he's probably got the biggest smile on his face every day he shows up to practice, and he's just coachable. And like I've said about a lot of guys, every day, every time the ball rolls over, it's a learning experience for him. And he did a great job there down the goal line to trade that coverage off, and got the look we were hoping to get, and he knew exactly what to do with it. Jeremiah here in the next 2 years will be able to stay on his feet, catch that ball and take it back the other way as his body continues to mature and get bigger and get stronger. You'll see that exact same play hopefully here in a year, 2 years, where he's taking it all the way back, because if he stays on his feet, there's nobody's going to catch him. So.
And then later it did hold it to a field goal, but when you get a ball on the 5, you talk about straining a lot.
Yeah.
And it was a strain to get through those 3 plays. I mean, there was nearly a touchdown. I think it was maybe Isaiah Robinson that had the PBU in the back of the end zone.
Right.
I can't remember if it was Isaiah or not, but
Yeah.
someone got in there and, again, fought somebody through the process of a catch.
It is. That was Isaiah. He did a good job there. We talk all the time about playing the ball to the ground, and it's not a catch until it's a catch. And but we really look at that as a whole defensively. If you've been out at practice, you've heard me say defend 99.9, because it doesn't matter how far down they get. If they don't get that last tenth of a yard, they don't get anything out of it. Maybe field position, but other than that, on the scoreboard, they don't get anything out of it. And I've talked to you on this show about, I can really judge. I think coaches can really judge a defense's toughness on how they play when their cleats are in the end zone. And I think that's really, really important. And anytime we can get the offense gets down in there inside the 5 and we can come out with no points or 3 points, you've got to look at that as a win, and just keeping them out, and a little bit of toughness, because it's not easy to again put your own cleats in the end zone and try to figure out how to stop somebody. So I was proud of them for that.
Well, what did help is the bye week, you got some bodies back. Probably none more so impactful this week than Danny Sears.
Yeah.
Playing near home, he gets to be a captain. He comes out and has a career best 10 tackles, and didn't look like he missed a bit. I mean, he missed the entire month of October, but he looked like the same guy that walked off the field at SEMO with a boot on his ankle, just back healthy.
Yeah, Danny is a tough. I almost said tough kid. Danny's a tough man, it's really cool to watch him play and knowing his history here. I know Coach McCorkle probably mentioned it. But it means something to Danny. It means a lot more to Danny than just your average Joe to walk out there with the N on the side of your helmet. That's the kind of play you get when it just means more to him. We were so proud to get him back, and he actually ended up playing a lot more snaps than we intended. But when the guy's got a hot hand, you roll with him. But we were going to try to wean him back this week and then kind of get him back in more of a full-time role moving forward. But he didn't let us do that. He said, I'm cleared, I'm going to play, and I'm going to make you keep me on the field, and that's exactly what he did. So,
we've talked about the relationship between Johnny Mitchell and Blake Gocher and how that has helped, and obviously Johnny helps everybody when he's taking up 2 or 3 blockers at that point. But within that linebacker group, is it simply when you look at it, Landry Huddleston's had a 12 tackle game that had a couple of sack and a half involved.
Yep.
Danny had his game. Blake's been incredibly consistent year from week 1 to now week 11. Hayden Jenkins is a guy that's come along as a freshman. Is it something about that room, within that room, just a competition factor? Is it, again, do you point at the defensive line when those guys have that combination of both?
Yeah, I think it's just a mixture of both. I mean, there's some good players in there, and they play really hard, and they play those three you named, and Danny, and Blake, and Hud. There's one thing that I guarantee you is they're going to show up and they're going to play hard, and they're going to strain and they're going to fight, and that lends a lot to some of the plays that they made. And then, of course, you mentioned the defensive line. It doesn't help. It doesn't help to. It doesn't hurt. I'm sorry. It doesn't hurt to have someone like Chancellor Owens or Johnny Mitchell in front of you. And Coach Williamson does a great job with those guys. He's hard on them. He holds them to a high standard. And if you can meet the standard that Coach Williamson has for you, you don't have a choice but to be a good football player, because he demands that out of them, and I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I mean, they're being productive, they're being active, and we're excited to see it.
Can't leave Cam George out of that
That's
group
right.
up front.
Cam
Had
George,
a great tackle for loss, nearly a safety.
Yeah.
On a snap from the 7-yard line, so pursued and showed his athleticism there. As we look toward McNeese, we'll turn the page now, and you go back into normal week, normal game week. The one thing not normal about McNeese right now is you may not know what quarterback you're going to get. Clifton McDowell had a great start to the year. He's been out with injury. They had a bye week, so does he come back healthy? Preparation for McNeese looks like what this week?
It looks like we're getting ready to play the next opponent. 6 killers are starting quarterback on their 2 deep, and I wouldn't imagine any coaching staff out there would ever put something on their 2 deep that wasn't accurate. So, I have a great feeling we'll get 6 killer as their quarterback, and he's really good. He's mobile. He does a great job running the offense. They'll be very, very productive. They have been very, very productive with him on the field. It's not like your starter goes down, you're trying to bring somebody that doesn't have any experience. He's got plenty of experience. I mean, they basically had 1A and 1B over there at quarterback. So they really don't really take much of a step back, and he can move around. He's athletic and does a good job.
And similarly, just like Southeastern, it's kind of 1A and 1B in the backfield too. It's not just the quarterbacks. They've got 2 really good running backs. You saw 3 really good running backs Saturday at Southeastern in Dixon, Graham, and Martin. Now you'll see 2 more against McNeese. And again, that's where the guys we talked about, that front 6, really are going to have to strain.
Yeah, they'll have to step up. They'll have to strain. It's for me, it was really easy to overlook leading up to this game. McNeese has got the number 1 rushing offense in the Southland Conference right now. They have, I believe, the number 3 passing offense in the Southland Conference, and so they've done a really, really good job. And the fact that you can couple having the number 1 rushing offense with the number 3 passing means you got a lot to deal with on defense. They don't just lean on one thing. You've got to find a way to make sure you're covering the whole field and stop everything. And then they've got a quarterback that can pull it out and hurt you too with his feet. And so they present some stuff that we'll go to work on this week. And as a staff right now, we're digging pretty deep into them. We'll present it to the players this afternoon, and by Tuesday we'll have kind of our base game plan set, and then put some situational stuff in after that. But Saturday at 1 o'clock, they'll be ready to go.
It'll be a unique Saturday in a sense, a very small senior class. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going back mentally here. I'm trying to count the 8. I don't think you've got one that's going to be honored. So it's a unique position for a coordinator to be in, but one you'll gladly take too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool. I know at times, we've had some ups and downs on defense this year, and that's not acceptable. We want to stay on the upside the whole time, but even in the downs, it's really encouraging to look out there and just see that, hey, this guy's going to be here for the next 3 years. He might have messed up on this or that on that particular play, but 3 years from now, he's going to make that play like clockwork, and that's exciting.
I think Coach McCorkle touched on that for SFA, where he had a freshman center snap into a redshirt freshman quarterback, thrown to a redshirt freshman tight end.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing. It may
question.
be a redshirt sophomore spilling someone into a redshirt freshman on your end. So
that's right.
A lot to look forward to.
Yep.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you guys at 1 o'clock on Saturday out there at Turpin Stadium for the final time. Thank Matt Connor, as always, for joining us. Up next, when the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group, rolls on. We'll talk with Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Norman Joseph.
Whether it's in the trailer, behind the camera, or on the air, NSU has a place for you. Learn the ins and outs of an ESPN broadcast while getting a full-fledged education in sports media or broadcast journalism. Northwestern State University, New Media, Journalism, and Communication Arts. Learn more at nsula.edu/new media.
Welcome back to the Demon Huddle presented by Cross Financial Group, joined now by Northwestern State Offensive Coordinator Norman Joseph, back after a 1-week absence. Coach, hope you enjoyed your bye week from the grilling we give you here every week, and you got a little piece on bye week Monday, but always good to have you back, and we'll jump right into things from Southeastern on Saturday. And I think, again, for the second time in as many games, we touched on it with Coach McCorkle, the second drive with a bunch of new faces in was as productive as any you've had. The good was that it was 10 plays, 90 yards. The bad was it didn't end with points. But, again, this has been termed kind of a restart and a growth year, and I think you see that each time those guys go in.
Well, they did a great job, and they are continuing to do an outstanding job for us as well. And a lot of young faces, young bodies, truly not developed to be even on the field. But we felt like that they made great progress through the season. We have 4 games left. Let's put them in, get some experience, and look to the future as well. Of course, we want to win these games, but at the same time, we're looking at these guys, and they're really doing a fantastic job for us.
Quaterius Hawkins is not one of those freshmen. He is a senior, but he had his moments on that drive. I think all 3 explosive plays came on that drive. It was the big throw. The one that stands out to me was the throw to Ray McNeely Harris, the great catch he made on that sideline, and just the throw too, where Q put that ball was on the money.
Yeah, it could. The only way it was going to be completed was to be where Q put it, and it was a great catch by Ray, and Ray's has done a great job for us all season long. He's one of those guys that can play a lot of positions for us. He catches the ball well out of the backfield, which he showed the other night, the afternoon, but as an outstanding runner, he's so talented in so many ways and can run it inside, outside, and he is a fearless blocker as well. So been real proud of Ray this season, and then Q had really had a good ball game. He had there was a couple of mistakes early, but as the game progressed, I thought he really played well for us, and it came out with a real high passing percentage, and it's going to help us on down the line.
I think another guy that we talked about once, and Ray McNeely Harris has got to be one of those guys you talk about when those bodies aren't ready. He adds a few pounds and keeps what he's able to do. He's going to make a big difference for this team going forward.
Absolutely, and tough runner. Like was said earlier, he can run it inside, he can run it outside, and not only is he a good pass catcher, but he is an outstanding blocker.
One of the guys that's not a freshman again, but a guy that's been kind of the third down money man here lately is Ty Moore. Had another one, a nice slant ball, a nice slant pattern he ran, and again, Quaterius put it right on the money, and again, converting on a 3rd and medium. That wasn't a 3rd and 1. That was about a 3rd and 6, and he makes a nice route. And I want to say 3 or 4 of his last 4 or 5 catches have been for first downs, if not a better percentage.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we're looking for. You really said something very important there that has been a topic of conversation for us is getting players in the game that can keep drives going. And so Ty Moore has done that, and that was an outstanding throw by Q to get the ball to him, and perfect timing, well delivered, and then the catch and the run afterwards was very positive. And then Ty caught another one late in the game. It was really a circus catch. It was thrown behind him a little bit. Made a great catch, got us a first down again, and so some positive things are coming from Ty Moore, and he's going to continue to add a lot of good things to us in the future.
We talked with Coach McCorkle earlier on the show about legacy players, guys who it just means more. He's one. I mean, both of his parents, obviously, Glenn played tight end, and recent in-club Hall of Fame inductee Janice Miller Moore, Ty's mother, where he got his hops from, I think is what he said. But those guys, it really does. I mean, I think you see when those guys play, their families played here, whether it's Danny Sears or Jackson Hedrick or a guy like Ty Moore, it does just mean a little bit more.
It does mean something, and of course they've have been raised around it. They've been here on campus several times before they ever reported to camp and reported to schools. So they understand Northwestern culture, understand the legacy, understand the importance of success, and the willingness to work to get there.
And Glenn knows you a little bit too.
I like Glenn Moore, first class guy.
Been a while. I mean, you've known him for a long time.
Yeah, he's a tremendous person.
So as we look toward McNeese, toward this year, or toward this year, the end of this year, last home game, it's senior day, and again, you kind of get in with these guys that are on their last year. Now, the preponderance of the seniors of the 8 are on offense. So you've gotten to know the Chance Newmans, the Quatarius Hawkinses, the Stevie Ballards. And I think Stevie's a guy we probably need to talk about that probably haven't talked about enough. He's been the anchor of that offensive line, the only senior up there, and he's posted every game and done a good job at that left tackle
Very
spot.
proud of Stevie. Came in when we got here in the spring. He was the offensive lineman that we looked to give us leadership and have an understanding of what we wanted to accomplish up front, and it's carried on through, not only in the spring, but all through the summer. Great work ethic and just a tremendous young man, and knows how to work, knows how to play, understands the importance of success and hard work and how it all works together to have success, and then he's done a great job for us this fall. So real proud of what Stevie has added to our program. He will be talked about for years to come because of his leadership, and we know that some great days are ahead for him as well.
And a bit unique. I mean, he's been through a lot of position coaches in his time here. I think he's 3 in the last 3 years, so maybe 4 in all 4 years. Just the way of the world in college football, but it also maybe gives him a little bit more of a, I don't know if well-rounded is the right word, but a different view maybe of the game than others.
Well, you know, the one thing about a player that has several coaches to come in, position coaches or terminologies in the scheme, is that that you're learning so much faster and quicker than maybe somebody's been in the same system for years. And I think there's something to be said about staying in a system. And I think there's a real strength in that. But also in Stevie's case, being in so many offenses, so many schemes, different coaches, different terminologies of this blocking scheme and that blocking scheme, he was able to pick it up much faster. And this is where I'm getting to on this. He was able to pick up our scheme much faster because he had been around so many others. And because of that, then his game elevated in a hurry.
You'll go against a McNeese defense that, and we've talked with Matt Connor, we've talked with Coach McCorkle about Blake Gocher, I think, from week 1 on the show. If we don't mention him, it's very rare. You're going to face a McNeese defense that has their own version of Blake Gocher and Micah Davey, a guy that's missed some time. It's Rohan Davies' son, so all the LSU people know who we're talking about. But a guy like that, I mean, when you face Blake Gocher every day in practice, does it help translate to face a guy like Micah Davey who was doing what Blake did numbers-wise a year ago?
Yes, absolutely. And when you play good people in practice, it's going to help you on game day. But I can tell you, McNeese's defense is outstanding. They have multiple fronts. They have multiple coverages. They run people all over the place. There's blitzes. There's safety blitz, not just linebacker blitz, but they're bringing safeties and corners, and they're trying to create negative yardage plays, and they've done that in several ball games, and that's the reason they're 5-5 right now. So there's a lot of positives that they're bringing to the table, and what a good, sound, strong defense that they have.
When you do see that, do you, as an offensive coordinator, just in general, not just for McNeese, but if you see a very aggressive defense, is the tendency there to think, okay, if we catch him in the right look, we've got a shot to turn it around on him?
Well, yes, yeah, but and that's the beauty of an offense that can, be aggressive and run downhill and make some plays, and now all of a sudden you catch them off balance and you're able to split the line of scrimmage. that is one thing that is a real plus. However, it's being able to catch them at the right time. So there's being able to catch them at the right time, but also a team that blitzes and puts pressure on you, then all of a sudden you're not nearly as wide open as you normally would be of a team that's standing there and just letting you run plays. So now you got to narrow your scale, your package going into the ball game and be real good about what you're doing.
Again, just a different kind of assignment sound.
Yes.
Coach, as always, we appreciate your time. We'll see you at 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon at Turpin Stadium, final home game of the year. Offensive coordinator Norman Joseph, thank you as always for being here. Thank you, Cross Financial Group, for your sponsorship of the Demon Huddle. We'll see you next week here on YouTube.